As candidates and super PACs continue to raise millions of dollars to spend campaigning for the presidency in what is likely to be the most expensive election of all time, the sources of their funding inevitably show through in their policy prescriptions. Thus, the staunchly pro-Israel campaign messaging that characterizes this election cycle can be traced back to the millions of dollars in campaign contributions from pro-Israel funders both inside and outside the Israel lobby. Journalist and blogger Richard Silverstein has followed such funding since before the election cycle even began.
One of the key donors to talk about, just because of the size of his wallet and the willingness to participate in the process, is Sheldon Adelson. We know his money is on Newt Gingrich, and I believe that we're up to 27 million. If you go back before the election, I think we're talking about 20 million just in this election cycle. He could go as high as 100 million in the general election. And we've never seen giving by an individual like that before, of course, because we're now in the post-Citizens United era. And we're going to see this more and more. But I think Adelson is a guinea pig, really, for how this post-Citizens United system is going to work. So you're going to be seeing individuals who are willing to put in $100 million in an election cycle or more. And what's also interesting about Adelson is, unlike other donors who have a broad set of interests, Adelson really only in terms of politics has one interest, and that's Israel. So it really skews the discourse. He has not just impacted Gingrich's positions.
We've had an invented Palestinian people.
But you've heard Romney and you've heard Santorum also take really jingoistic positions on the Iran conflict. And you heard them all speak at AIPAC and rattle sabers and beat the drums of war. He can drive the entire narrative of a campaign with that huge amount of money and turn Iran into a campaign issue, which it would maybe not otherwise be.
Worth over $20 billion, Adelson is a relatively new figure in mainstream U.S. politics. But as Silverstein explains, his star is quickly rising thanks to his contributions this election cycle.
Until this election cycle, Sheldon Adelson was a player, but not a major player. He was instrumental in founding Freedom Watch, which was something Ari Fleischer was involved with in the last election cycle. But he dropped out and stopped funding it at a certain point, and he didn't invest more than a couple of $1 million in it. This cycle is where he's really doubled down, if you want to use the language of Las Vegas, on his bet. And he's not just opened his wallet, but I really think he's trying to spread his wings and his impact beyond the narrow Jewish Republican donor scenes. And so he was invited to the Koch brothers' Palm Springs retreat, at which they meet with all the other major right-wing donors around the country and basically plot their strategy. So Adelson, for the first time, came to that event. So he was meeting with right-wing Republican donors, the corporate elite, who might not have had Israel on their agenda. Their issues might be economic or corporate or traditional Republican issues. So he's trying to have an impact on skewing that Republican elite and having them embrace the Israel issue.
Adelson's money has also had a major impact on Israeli politics, as he's long been a central supporter of right-wing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
He has founded his own daily newspaper, which is a free newspaper. He's investing $40 million a year in that newspaper. And this newspaper, Israel Hayom, is called Bibiton, which is a nickname, indicating that it's Bibi's newspaper. It was created purely to drive the right-wing dominance in the Israeli political process, specifically Bibi Netanyahu, who has publicly credited this newspaper with his winning the prime ministership and his right-wing Likud coalition staying in power. And obviously Israel and the U.S. are a little bit different, but if he can, I think he's going to try to work that sort of magic as much as possible within the U.S. as well.
And despite Adelson's commitment to the Gingrich campaign so far, he will almost certainly support a Romney candidacy against Obama in the general election. Indeed, major Jewish Republican fundraisers behind Romney's campaign, like Florida real estate mogul Mel Sembler, have been trying to get Adelson to support the former Massachusetts governor for some time. When Sembler took Romney on a tour of Florida prior to that state's primary, they picked up some $1.8 million for the candidate in the swing state. Years before that, Sembler took Romney on a tour of Israel. MondoWeiss.net founding editor Philip Weiss explains the dynamic.
Mel Sembler is one of Mitt Romney's finance chairs, and he is very right-wing on Israel. And Mel Sembler has tried with others to get Sheldon Adelson to support Mitt Romney, not Newt Gingrich. So I think that what you're seeing is Sheldon Adelson is trying to drag the debate to the right inside the Republican Party by giving so much money to this thorn in Mitt Romney's side. I think ultimately Sheldon Adelson will give money to Mitt Romney against Obama because Mitt Romney will be supporting what Sheldon Adelson and Mel Sembler care about: a greater Israel, an undivided Jerusalem, Israel all over the West Bank.
Whereas Gingrich's extreme stances have largely marginalized his campaign in the Republican establishment, Romney has made an effort to identify as more of a centrist, making him a more attractive option for mainstream Jewish voters and fundraisers. New York real estate lawyer Philip Rosen is perhaps the highest profile supporter of Romney in the American Jewish community. He claims his two fundraisers for the candidate each raised over $1 million. Rosen is chairman of the American Friends of Likud and sits on the board of the Republican Jewish Coalition. That organization's former chairman, investment banker Sam Fox, has also reached into his pockets for Romney. But the GOP has by no means monopolized the funding structure behind the Israel lobby. The Obama campaign has done its best to keep pro-Israel money on the president's side. According to a poll commissioned by J Street, 80% of Jewish Americans did not donate to any presidential campaign in 2008. The 20% who did donate to a presidential campaign in 2008 supported Obama 4-1 over John McCain. Obama's re-election campaign is seeing to it that Republican efforts to brand him soft on Israel won't bring that number down.
The Hill said that because of Obama's Israel positions, Obama was losing donors to Romney. And I was able to show that donors that the Hill mentioned, of 5 of them, they mentioned 4 of them were people who really cared about Israel. They were active in Jewish causes, and they had given a lot of money to Israel, and they were cited in this Hill analysis as being defectors from Obama. John Heilemann at New York Magazine at the same time, when he described Obama as America's first Jewish president, said that Obama was deeply afraid that the Jewish donor base, which had helped establish his candidacy in 2008, that he would lose a lot of that donor base over his positions on Israel. So in sum, I think this is a hugely important factor in the policymaking and in the positioning that we see among these candidates. Just how much money they're getting is somewhat unclear.
What is clear is that millions of dollars are at stake, and the Wall Street traders and hedge fund managers looking to replace Obama with one of their own are hoping to use the Israel issue to expand their electoral impact beyond their narrow financial interest group.
We've got figures like Daniel Loeb, who started out raising a couple of $100,000 for Obama in the 2008 election. He's a major hedge fund manager in New York. And there's a whole coterie of these Jewish hedge fund managers who started out in 2008 in the Obama camp. And once they saw that the financial regulatory campaign that Obama was organizing after the financial crisis would crimp their style and their profits, they turned against Obama, and now they're raising money for Republican candidates, and they've helped found this Bill Kristol, Gary Bauer initiative, the Emergency Committee on Israel. So you do have these erstwhile sort of liberal Democrats who are using the Israel issue as a cudgel against Obama when their real interests are economic and very personal and cynical.
And according to Philip Weiss, their tactics reveal the bipartisan nature of the Israel lobby that distinguishes it from other single-issue lobbies.
ECI is the Emergency Committee for Israel. It's headed by Bill Kristol, leading neoconservative. He pushed the Iraq War vigorously from 1998 on when he was at the Project for a New American Century. And ECI is, frankly, very concerned with Israel and has put out an ad this week saying Obama says he has Israel's back. He's lying. All he cares about is his own back. When the chips are down, he's going to abandon Israel. This is what their ad says. So here is this political intervention with a lot of money behind it. And my concern is, why does Obama have to care about these people? Here's Obama who's bending over backwards. He said in Cairo in 2009, the settlements must end. And he's completely abandoned that promise. He has allowed Israel to do whatever it wants on the settlements. He's allowed Israel to continue to Judaize Jerusalem and take over East Jerusalem. He is folded because of, I believe, money, concern about donations. And here you have this neoconservative outfit with a lot of money behind it that is going at his own base, that is saying, hey, he's abandoning Israel. They had ads all around AIPAC with pictures of Obama saying that Ahmadinejad doesn't take him seriously when he says he really is going to take on Iran. So I think that these ads are actually effective. Even though they're from neoconservatives, they're actually effective at going at these conservative Democrats, these Jewish Democrats who are concerned about Israel and are supporting Obama. And let's say that the issue was abortion. Let's say that there were people putting up ads saying Obama is a baby killer or Obama is supporting abortion. Would the Democratic base care? No, the Democratic base would not care. They would say we have a winner on this issue in terms of the polling, and none of us is going to abandon Obama over abortion. We're in favor of abortion. We're pro-choice. Here is an issue where you have the Republican right that is actually able to reach into the Democratic base and say, hey, he's going against you. And one of these ads from the Republican Jewish Coalition quotes Chuck Schumer attacking the president for talking tough to Netanyahu.
Hillary Clinton called up Netanyahu and talked very tough to him, and worse, they made it public through their spokesperson. That is terrible.
So this is, again, an issue. The character of the Israel lobby is that it transcends party. It is something that many conservative Jews care a lot about. A core commitment on their part is to Israel's security, and they will leave Obama over that issue.
But Barack Obama also addressed the AIPAC policy conference, and despite the flight of some of his former supporters from Wall Street, his connections to the Israel lobby and its funding structure remain strong. For The Real News, I'm Noah Gimbel in Washington.